Today we're taking a break from this little monster right here. It's a LS Ranchero project that I'm working on, and we're turning our attention to the Chevy Equinox. It's 2011. This has a 3.0 V6, and these are just notorious for stretching timing chains. So we're going to get into that. I'll pop the hood, kind of do a little overview, show you what we're going to do before we actually get into it. And the area we're going to be working on is going to be in here. So what I would like to do is remove the airbox. We'll get the engine cover off. Valve covers will be coming off. Intake will be coming off. And I'm just going to do a time lapse on all that so you can, at least see how it's coming apart. And then once we get down to it, I'll come back and then we'll go through the kit that I bought, and hopefully everything goes smooth. But I've been putting this project off longer than I should have, but here we are. Obviously you can see I've got the intake off, all the things that hooked up to it. Unplugged these coils, and I think I'm going to go ahead and take those off. Then I'm going to jack it up and drain the coolant, because we're going to be taking the water pump off. So while we're here, I want to tell you about a couple things. To change the spark plugs, these front ones are pretty easy. These rear ones, now is a really good time to change your spark plugs if you're going to, or maybe even your coils. I've done that in another video, and in that video I show more on how to take the intake out. So I'll link that here. And then the other thing I want to tell you is, while we're here, this motor mount's going to come out, which is right here. And I've got a video on replacing all the motor mounts on this. They're broken into each mount per video, so I'll link those here as well. So right now I'm going to go ahead and take the coils off and then jack it up, drain the coolant, then we'll come back. Alright, so I'm still draining the coolant, and the next step is I'm going to put a jack under the motor with a piece of wood 2x4 supporting the engine, and then I'm going to remove this engine mount. Like I mentioned previously, I do have a video showing how to remove this mount. If you want to see that, check out that link that I put in the description as well as on the screen a little while back. I'll put it here too. The other thing that I'm going to be having to change while I'm doing this is the alternator. Now, this alternator is a replacement, and I do have a video on how to change the alternator. But obviously, if you're watching this video, you're doing the same thing I am, and you're going to be changing the timing chain, or at least get an idea of what it takes to do so. And if you decide that the timing chain is more than what you want to tackle, but you at some point need to change your alternator, I do have a link to that video. So I'll leave that here on the screen, and I will put it in the description below. But right now, I'm going to remove the motor mount and this main mount here. You can see this right here, and then I'll assess, probably come back and show you just so you can see what it looks like. But at that point, that's when I'm going to take the serpentine belt off and start taking some accessories off.
A few moments later.
You can see here we've removed the motor mount and then that main mount attached to the engine that the motor mount attached to. And this is a pretty good look, just so you can get an idea of what all is here. We've got your tensioner right here, so that's where we're going to be able to release the belt. I'm going to get the belt out of the way, get that last plug undone. I'll probably disconnect this hose and remove this, and then we'll see where we're at from there. At this point, I have the alternator off, and I'm going to go ahead and start taking the tensioner off. And there's a bolt here and a bolt here. I just want to get as much of the accessories off. I'll probably try to get the crank pulley off, and probably the water pump pulley. I'll get that off before I go much further. I think once those items are off, I will take the valve covers off. And the reason I'm waiting so long to take the valve covers off is this wire harness is going to be right over the valve train, and you know it's got some dirt on it, and I would like to reduce that dirt as much as possible. I've removed all the bolts on the water pump, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that. It's starting to leak, which I knew there's going to be some leakage from here. I have also taken off the wheel here. And here you can see where it's leaking. You can see also we're going to be able to get to that crank pulley bolt pretty easy and pull that harmonic balancer off. I'm going to go ahead and get that water pump out of the way. Some of that's going on the floor. And I don't want to get in trouble. Alright, so the bolt on this crank pulley is a 19 millimeter. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch impact to try to remove that bolt. Well, that wasn't too bad. And I think we might need a puller to get it off there, but we'll find out. Okay, yeah. Well, here you can see I've got the harmonic balancer puller off, or on, and this is the one that I bought. So this says Chrysler harmonic balancer puller, but it also works on many GM engines. So looks like it's attached right now, and I'm just going to go ahead and see if we can get it to come off. Alright, it feels like it's coming. I'll have a link to this harmonic balancer puller. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. You might have to switch out the rod in the middle. So just to give you a little idea here, you can see how that's hooked onto that little notch, and that's why I was holding this while I was trying to get it started. Alright, so the water pump's off, the harmonic balancer is off. So now what I would like to do is get the valve covers off, and then we can start taking this front plate off. See, we've got the valve covers off, and now it's time for that front cover. They are what appear to be 13mm bolts holding it on, and I will try to find a diagram so you can see where all these are, and I'm probably just going to go for it and start taking bolts out. But one thing to keep in mind is I'm going to try to keep the bolts in the same location. Probably for this one I'll take a piece of cardboard, and as I'm taking them out I'll put it in kind of like in order and in the same similar shape as the as they came out, just to keep them in order and organized. Quick tip before you can get this front cover off, it's going to help to get these cam solenoids. There's intake and exhaust cam solenoids, and that was getting bound up because these go into the engine block, and if you're trying to pull that out and you're not perfectly straight, you're going to get bound up. But also back in that back corner right there, it gets pretty tight. So halfway through I realized it's going to be best to take these out. Now the kit that I have, these come in there new, so I'll be replacing these. There we are. There's the whole front cover. As you can tell, I left all the bolts in, where they go. This is what's inside the box that I just showed you. This has everything including the water pump and the water pump gaskets. One thing that I purchased that hopefully will help us with this is this kit for holding the camshafts in place where we want them so they don't move in the process of changing the sprockets and things like that. So we'll take a quick look at that. And it looks like we got some instructions too, so that's good. And it even has numbers on here to show us probably the order in which we're going to use them. And yeah, so when we get to using these, I'll show you that. So before I start turning the crank to position this first set, this is the first set we need to get the chain off of. And we'll have to rotate it until we get to the flat spots, and again I'll show you that when we get there. But to make that a little easier, you can see I took spark plugs out, and that'll just keep compression from building while we're trying to turn the crank, and should make it a little easier. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna turn the crank. I'll turn that, I believe it's clockwise. I'll verify that here in a minute. I'll get this lined up, and I believe I'll be able to put my first metal retainer on these the back part of these cams, and then we can start taking everything off for this side. Alright, so as you can see, I do have this plate installed. It is the number 3 plate, and I have already taken one chain guide off on this side. And that'd be the left side if you're facing the engine from the front of the engine. And I'm going to switch over to time lapse and just get started here. And if I see something important, I'll stop and we'll address that. Show you the progress I've made. I'm not sure if we already seen this. So that was in place. Got the chain off. Then I got the primary chain off, and to do that you have to rotate. And you probably should have seen that in the time lapse, but you rotate it until you can get this plate on, which is actually plate number 1. So we got 3 and 1, and at this point I'm gonna start changing. I think these are called cam phasers, but anyway, this is the intake for the left side. Yeah, you can't really see it on the camera, I don't think, but it says IN for intake. One thing I was kind of concerned about is knowing how we're going to know it's in the right orientation. So here's the new sprocket, and you can see it has a locator here to index it correctly. So I don't think we're going to get this in the wrong spot. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. Now in this kit, the intake sprockets are designated left and right. So on this, the front of the engine is left, and on the rear of the engine, that's right. But the exhaust sprockets are interchangeable. They're the same part number. So I'm going to go back to time lapse. I'm going to go ahead and put these 2 sprockets on. Here's the oil pump. One thing I want to do is look at this to figure out, it came with 3 new bolts. You can see these right here. And there's one down here on the bottom right, one on the top right, and one on the top left. See this one here, bottom right, top right, and top left. So I'm going to remove those, get this old pump out. And then here on top you can see we've got the cam phasers on both sides. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that water or the oil pump and put the new one in and keep moving. Just in case I missed anything, we do have what we are calling the left bank and the right bank done and ready to get the front cover back on, but at this point I don't have the front cover cleaned. You can see here I've got it laid face down. I did buy a new crank seal, so I'll be changing that out, as well as I need to come through and clean all this out. It appears there's a little trough here. This is where we're going to apply the black RTV gasket maker. One thing I do want to note too is there's a black rubber gasket in here for the water pump, and it feels like it's still proud. Had I known this was on here, I would have went ahead and bought that, but I don't think we're going to have any sealing problems. I'll just make sure it's clean. Here is an illustration of what we have at this moment right now. And from this photograph, this is showing the rear bank, which is also this one right here. So that plate is holding those cams where they need to be. And then you can see this one, and it's going to be difficult to see the angle, but you can see there that this plate was holding these cams at that angle, which brings us back to this diagram and where we should be on each of these sprockets. And I'll just show you these black sprockets. You can see one there and one over here. Alright, so here we are at this point. We have got the secondary and the primary and the left bank. So it's kind of difficult because this is a transverse engine, and this is actually what we would call the right bank, this is the left bank, this is the primary. So that being said, we already have the left bank, primary, and the right bank already back and ready to go. So you'll see these 2 points here, and you will see this one and this one. I'll show you that now, just so you can see that we are ready to go on putting the cover back on. This one right here is the black link, and then over here, right there where my screwdriver is the black one. And then over here we have the black one right here, which is really close to this. And I can't see it on this one, but it's right here, I believe. Hard to see. All that just to let you know we are ready to put the cover back on. And you can see I have a punch, and what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try to use this as an alignment pin to at least get one spot started so it goes on smooth. I'll try to bring in the GoPro on time lapse, see if we can catch this. Nobody likes an incomplete video, but that's what I'm providing you. I did not get the last bit of video where I put the timing chain cover back on, but I wanted to come back and at least share some information with you regarding torque specs and some other information like that. So we're going to take a look at that same Chilton's, I believe it was a Chilton's or a Haynes manual. I'm going to show you the torque specs, and if you noticed in the time lapse, if you paid close attention, you would see that I did use a torque wrench during all that process. So I did torque the bolts down, and we're going to go over those torque bolt settings, or the torque bolt settings, and which ones get what torque value. So some of the things we're going to be looking at is the camshaft actuator sprocket bolts are going to be 43, foot-pounds. Camshaft actuator oil control valve bolts are going to be 89 inch-pounds. Those are the first items that we took out from the timing chain cover. Cam position actuator solenoid valve bolts. I don't know if those are in there, but if they are, that's the 89 inch-pounds. Crankshaft pulley bolt. It says use a new bolt. Step 1, 74 foot-pounds, and then tighten an additional 150 degrees. Oil pump mounting bolts are going to be 18 foot-pounds. Timing chain cover bolts. This is going to be the 3 liter, which I have, in earlier 3.6 models. Step 1, 168 inch-pounds. Step 2, tighten an additional 60 degrees. So that's on the 8mm bolts. And then we have the 12mm bolts. It's going to be 48 foot-pounds. And then and then tighten an additional 60 degrees, and that's looks like it's going to be on the 3.6. On the 3.0, it's going to be 48. On the 3.6, it's going to be 2 steps, and so the first step is 48, then tighten an additional 60 degrees. On 2013 and later, it has a different sequence. The timing chain guide assembly bolts, 17 foot-pounds. Timing chain tensioner assembly bolts, 17 foot-pounds. Timing chain idler sprocket bolts, 43 foot-pounds. Valve cover bolts, 89 inch-pounds. Now trust me, I am the first to tell you that an incomplete video is pretty annoying. I tried to follow that up with some good information that was kind of left out. If you have any questions above and beyond what I've tried to lay out here, just go ahead and put those questions in my comment section. If you go through any of my other videos, you'll see that I do the best I can to stay up on my comments. So if you have any questions that I did not answer, put them there, and if I don't have the answer, I'll at least point you in the right direction to get the right answer. Hopefully the video was at least informative and able to help walk through this process, even with a little bit of missing information. If you got value out of this video, if you don't mind, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Let me know how your project went and if it's something that you found that you could do, or you still found it to be overwhelming. This is a little outside of the normal DIY person, but I will try to have links in the description for the tool that I use for positioning the camshafts. I will also try to have a link in the description for that Haynes manual that I just referenced, and anything else that is helpful to this installation. Hopefully we'll see you on another video, and if you like what you see here, subscribe, because I'm in the middle of building that and it's gonna be fun. So thanks for watching.